I want to mention a statute that is being considered within the city of New York, mindful that not everyone practices in the city of New York, but this is a strong indication, I think, of where these statutes are going, and it tells us something, perhaps, I think that it does, about the future of mortgage foreclosure actions and the role of lenders in that situation. New York City is especially concerned about the condition of neighborhoods where there have been multiple foreclosures. The concern is as to deterioration of properties. Now, if a property deteriorates in a neighborhood because an owner has not maintained it, then one might opine that the party liable for that would be the owner. The city would like to move that burden from owners to lenders, and therefore the proposed statute offers a number of remedial actions, and those have unintended consequences, and that's a point to be mentioned. The statute does three general things. The details of it are considerable, but generally the first is that the foreclosing lender must register with the city and supply certain fairly extensive information about the property and about who the lender is. This adds yet another layer of steps that lenders must take in foreclosures, and this list of steps is becoming quite extensive and making foreclosures that more burdensome and expensive. But one of the additional aspects of this that is of concern is that personal information, such as the phone number of the head of the company, must then become a public record, and this would lead to the thought that borrowers at the property, chagrined by what is going on, could begin calling these people at their personal phone numbers, creating issues that are obvious and therefore of concern. A second leg of the statute is that as a condition of instituting a mortgage foreclosure action, the lender must post a bond, a performance bond, to cover violations and expenses at the property. The bond would be in the amount of at least $10,000, but how much the bond would actually be is unknown. There is some rather elusive formula in the statute as to what it must be, which leads to the issue of how expensive might it be to obtain a bond. While large lenders will have a bonding capacity, smaller lenders may very well not have it, nor would an individual or mom and pop who sell their house and take back a purchase money mortgage necessarily have the ability to obtain a bond. And further, on the subject of the bond, it appears that the only way to make this economical would be to buy a blanket bond for all mortgages in the portfolio, rather than obtaining a bond for each foreclosure where the threat of collection on that bond is much greater. So this is a considerable expense which may really chill the ability to prosecute foreclosure actions. The third leg, and probably the most objectionable one from a lender's point of view, is that maintenance of the property becomes the responsibility of the foreclosing lender from the moment the action is begun. There are a multitude of issues and confusions concerning this, but the main one worthy of mention here is the question, what will maintenance cost during the course of a foreclosure? Which leads to the question, what is the duration of a foreclosure? And the answer to the second query is we don't know, but in some boroughs it could be easily 4 years. And the level of maintenance will depend upon the neglect of the owner of that property. If you think about those two things for a moment, it tells you that the amount of money cannot be measured, and the time during which it will be incurred and thereby increase likewise cannot be measured. If a foreclosing lender will become liable for an expense which is unknown, How does a lender price a loan to be made? What should the interest rate be? How does a lender dare make a loan to someone who might not be the most pristine risk in the world? It creates the concern that the ability to obtain mortgages in New York City or elsewhere where this to be adopted might be quite counterproductive, and this is certainly food for thought.